What is going on, guys? And welcome to the Underdog Experiment, week 2 on health. And I hope you guys are excited because I am excited. It's been a long day, but I'm still ready to rock and roll. Just waiting to see if there's anybody that joins a little bit. So I'll slowly start this out. Just letting you guys know to like and subscribe the video to get the word out about the Underdog Experiment and essentially try to help people out, right? That's why we started this whole thing, teach them about the 4 pillars. Last week we did time management, talked about some things to be more effective and efficient with your time. And then also we're going into health week 2, and then week 3 we are talking about people skills, and then week 4 we are talking about finance. So again, we are on week 2, so we're talking about health. Again, in my premiere yesterday, I know health is a very broad concept. So today we're just kind of going over some talking points, essentially just about some things that can help you, especially in the health department. I know there's a lot of different people that may feel it is really hard to make that transition to a healthier lifestyle, in which way you see fit, right? And ultimately, I'm not here to throw any kind of diet or lifestyle on you. It's something to improve your life, right? So it's not just your diet or anything like that, because that's not at all what we're talking about. We're talking about mind as well. It's extremely important. Again, I have some talking points here. Let's go into the description. I do have some books that are relevant to health, books that I've actually read that have helped me, right, into my transition to plant-based diet. I have some other different books on mind. It's like meditation stuff. There's one in there by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I've found to be one of the best ones to actually be out there. And so there is that one there. And there's 2 other books in there that are more stories based around the plant-based diet and why. One of them is Eat and Run, I believe. It's by Scott Jurek. That is like one of my favorite books, actually. That was actually one of my favorite books. Oh, did I lose my live stream? Nope, we're good. Okay, sorry. Screen went black there. Mouse went black there. I didn't know what happened. I thought I lost the live stream. We're good. Okay, back at it. So I got to wiggle the mouse a little bit here. Nonetheless, so the Scott Jurek book was a fantastic book, right? It really helped me realize what it was going plant-based, right? Like what he was essentially seeking out to improve his life and be a top performer. And so he found the plant-based diet and stuff like that. So that book is in there as well, again, in the description. I also have my top 5 books of all time I think anybody should read. I think that's important no matter what you're trying to do to improve life. I think those top 5 books will definitely help you in all these 4 pillars that I do talk about through this Underdog Experiment. I am trying out a new mic as well, so I hope this is much clearer and better for you guys as well, trying to improve each and every step. I still haven't got my DSLR up and running yet. I haven't had the time to look into that, but I do hope the sound quality is better. Trying to improve these videos for you guys so that we can make it a party, right? Because that's what we're here for. So the first topic I want to talk about is mind and body. I did talk about this in the premiere yesterday. People like to separate the mind and body a lot. And ultimately, I think the biggest thing here is to understand that what's ultimately going to happen is, sorry, I'm getting an error, so I'm like throwing off. I'm making sure everything's okay here. It looks like receiving enough video to maintain smooth, yes, lose my experience buffering. Okay, so hopefully you guys aren't experiencing any kind of buffering issues. Do apologize if there are errors. Again, the whole mouse movement thing threw everything off. So I do apologize for that. Again, body and mind. So body and mind, I think, are one and the same, right? Like whatever you feed your mind is going to affect your body. Whatever you feed your body is going to affect your mind. And I've felt that experience, right? Like it's almost like, if you drink right, you have that hangover, right? And it's the same way. Like if you treat your body, you neglect your body, you give your body bad input, it's going to make you feel depressed, right? It's going to make you feel anxiety. It's going to make you feel all these other different things because of the fact that you are neglecting your body. Bad input, maybe you're eating junk all the time, right? And it's the same for your mind. If you have bad thoughts and ideas about negativity about yourself, you know, it affects your body, right? Like you can think you're sick and you will actually make yourself sick, right? That is true. And tell my 8-year-old that, right? Because that's exactly what happens, right? They can imagine you're being sick, and that's exactly what happens. So again, mind and body, I think, are extremely important. So you have to make that connection, understand that is a connection there, and realize that, and not neglect one or the other, and make sure that you're feeding both, right, the right thing, right? I'm not saying that you have to go on some crash diet or anything like tomorrow. Getting further into this, again, I don't believe in crash diets and all that stuff. Nonetheless, I think it all comes down to discipline, right? It doesn't matter what you are doing or any kind of change you're trying to make in your life. It's all about discipline. It's about finding what's going to work for you. And in saying that, you know, we all know that discipline is hard, right? Like there's nothing easy about trying to implement new changes in your life. And that one book, Live Wired, that I had just read, you know, it has this example in there about the mind being wired for essentially your routine, right? Like, and to change that routine, your body's obviously going to fight that because there is no set path, right? If you can imagine walking essentially through a wheat field, right? And there's a trail already there. That's a trail that you've essentially laid. Now, to veer off from that trail, you're going to have to go through the wheat, right? You're going to have to knock down some more wheat to get through there. And initially, it's going to be hard. Initially, you're going to have to travel that path a couple of different times for it to become easy and nice and smoothed out so that you can walk without any, you know, walking through the wheat, right? And so it's the same kind of concept with discipline. You have to keep doing it for it to become easier. It's not saying it's going to, that you can't ever walk that path, right? You still have to walk the path. It's just easier because you've essentially rewired your brain enough to the point to where that you can do that, right? To where you can walk that path again. So ultimately, discipline is a big thing. We all know that. It's about execution. And in last week in time management, we talked about execution and what can actually help you in that. So I do recommend going back to week 1, reading, going through those videos, the premiere and the 2 lives, and finding what's effective, right? And it's essentially that 2 minutes, the 2-minute rule, where, you know, that thought comes in that, hey, I got to essentially execute. Maybe it's an exercise you're trying to do. You're trying to go out and run. Okay, well, I got 2 minutes. I need to run. This is my time block. Just go and do and execute, right? That's ultimately what I have to do for these 2 10-milers, because, you know, I try to plan all these 3 10-milers in a week, in 5 days. And I didn't really think that through too much, but I'm going to follow through with it because that's what I said. So nonetheless, time management, again, go look back at those things if you need anything to help you essentially transition in kind of body and mind things that you want to implement this week. Lifestyle change, right? This is one diet thing I want to hit on, because you have to realize that you have to have lifestyle change, right? You have to incorporate that and realize that there is, right, you can't have, sorry, I was just checking to make sure everything's online again here. I was just checking it, or where am I at here? Lifestyle change, diet. So your lifestyle change with your diet, you need to come at it with that approach. That's going to be a lifestyle change. That is going to be something you are going to implement for the rest of your life, not some crash diet, because at the end of that crash diet, what happens? You are waiting for it to essentially be over so you can return to your old routine, as opposed to taking incremental steps into transitioning to a healthier lifestyle that will eventually, you know, reward you in the end. And for me, like going plant-based and stuff, like the transition, that lifestyle change was hard because I didn't know anything about it, right? Like I did, I think like a month and a half or 2 months of research before I actually started doing it. And when I did it, it was a slow incremental change. I was slowly adapting to what I could eat and couldn't eat, right? And it was a slow change. I think the whole change took like over a month. but it was a lifestyle change I had to make because of my health, right? Like I was having issues with my heart, and I didn't want to, again, I don't want to sound bad here or anything like that, but you know, I didn't want my kids to grow up without a father. And so I had to make some dramatic changes, but I didn't do it overnight. It took a couple of months for me to become 100% like plant-based. I think it took like I want to say it was like 3 months in total to make that lifestyle change. And then ever since then, right, it's been 3 years since then, and I feel great, and I don't have any of the issues that I had before, right? I'm not trying to sit on here and throw a diet on you, say this is what's for you. You have to definitely find what works for you, but I'm just saying lifestyle change in general, trying to live a healthier lifestyle, you definitely have to take those steps and realize it's a lifestyle change. Crash diets, pills, all these other things that people try to sell you for health-wise, none of that stuff works. It's just about straight eating a healthy lifestyle, one that works, that's healthy to keep you in shape. And that's ultimately what it's about, right? Is trying to find that lifestyle that works for you and make sure you can make that work, again, to your benefit. So with that being said, the next thing I actually have, again, big goals when you're looking at these things for lifestyle changes. Just another point I want to touch on here. We did talk about this. Time management is those goals that you want. You have to realize the big tasks, right? Maybe you want to get a six-pack. Maybe you want to, run 5 miles, right? Maybe that's your goal. Ultimately, you have to realize that you have to take that big task and break it down into daily chunks. We talked about that. Time management is something you have to do. Make slow daily tasks that are reachable, right? That aren't too far out of your grasp, depending on your level. Not too far out of your grasp, but something that can definitely get you there without overreaching, right? You don't want to just overwhelm yourself and do a complete 180 overnight, because you're just not going to enjoy any of it, and it's only going to be a matter of time before you resort back to that path that's already been laid for you, right? That you're trying to escape. And so that's what's important here is to do that, especially even not just like working out and eating and diet, but it's the same thing for the mindset, right? If you're trying to get into meditation, for me, like myself, right, and this is another point I have here, is unseen progress, right? Whether you're doing meditation, whether you're doing any kind of health changes in your lifestyle, you have to realize that there's going to be a lot of unseen changes. Maybe you're overweight, right? It took you years to get to that point. Or maybe, you've never meditated, right? You're trying to, again, rewire all this stuff. You have to understand that as long as you're making taking those daily steps, there is progress, even though you don't see it. If you're doing anything physical, you start to see the physical part of it a lot better, right? The physical part, I think, comes quicker, depending where you're at, right? Like I was 50 pounds overweight. When I started going, it started shedding off quick, right? The first 3 weeks, I lost a lot of weight, and then it slowly starts to dissipate, or you don't lose much weight as fast. Again, typically it's mostly water and all that stuff, depending what your level of fitness is when you start. But not just mentioning that, right? Like you have to understand that mentally, mindset wise, if you are doing meditation, it is the same way. Now, meditation is harder. So you have to focus on the fact that, hey, I'm actually feeling a difference. Because I remember when I first started meditating, I tried to do the stillness, and it was hard. It seemed like I think I was just aiming for 5 minutes, and that's what I was trying to do every day. And it was extremely hard. Like I could barely do 5 minutes. Like my mind was like, why am I sitting here? I should be out doing something. I should be doing this. I should be doing that, right? Like I shouldn't be here. And it took me a while. And then I got into Headspace, the app. I tried the trial version. That helped a lot. And it helped me see like the possibilities there. Because the initial just sitting in stillness for 5 minutes, again, was really hard. And I know there's all these different concepts. When you think about meditation, you think about just sitting in stillness. I mean, there are so many different varieties of meditation, but you really got to find one that works for you. But it does help. It's helped me a lot. It definitely helps you with focus. It definitely helps you calm down. It definitely helps you become more self-aware, which I think being self-aware is a huge thing. Again, and focus and self-awareness are huge, especially if you're trying to correct anything in your life. Right? You got to be self-aware. You got to be aware of those actions that you're taking that you want to try to correct. And to be able to do that, meditation is great for that. And again, it took me, man, I don't even remember how long it took me before I could even hit like 30 minutes. It took a couple months. I want to say it took like 6 months before me to even hit like 30 minutes. And then even then it was like a grind to get to 30 minutes. And from there, like I've done it like every day till about, I want to say it's like 8 months ago or something. I stopped doing meditation for a little while. I got extremely busy at work and everything. And so I kind of let it taper off. And I started noticing the change. And that's when you don't realize how much of a difference it makes until you stop doing it. So that unseen progress that you were making, you see the difference on how you felt, how you looked, right? All these other different things because right? And so that's ultimately what it is to make sure that you're in check. And once you're in check, then, that's, you see that all that progress that you were making was because of that. Sorry, I lost track of where I was going there, but ultimately it's because you tapered off, and now you're starting to see what the issues are, right? You're starting to see where that difference was, and then you realize, dang, I need to go back, and I need to get back on it so I can, make myself better, because I knew where I was, and I want to get back to that point. That's why I started picking up meditation again. Although meditation now is, again, do 15 minutes a day. It's more like a visualization kind of thing, a guided meditation. It does help a lot. It does help keep me focused. It does help get my mind on track for the day, especially if you focus on those things that you want to get done for that day. It definitely helps. And the one I do is through Dr. Joe Dispenza. Sorry, I can't talk. And again, his book I do have in the comments. So again, I highly recommend that book. So you're looking for unseen progress. You have to definitely, this leads into believing in the process, right? Because if you don't believe in the process of what you're doing, you're going to realize that, it's never going to work, right? You have to realize that there is something going on. There is changes going on, and you don't see them because they're small. And it's the same way like becoming overweight, right? Like I've, again, fought with my weight a couple of different times throughout my life. And, you get to a point where you are trying to essentially, sorry, I lost belief in the process. You get to a point to where, you're trying to make progress and you feel like it's just not working. And I remember as a young kid, like I thought I could never have a six pack, right? I thought that would never be something in my life. I thought that wasn't me. I didn't believe, I thought, I was doomed to be an overweight person for my whole life. And it wasn't until experimenting, testing on myself, going through a million different books, going through a bunch of other different things that I realized that, hey, you know what? I'm actually making progress here, right? Like it took me a long time to just trust in the process. And I remember when I turned 12, I started weightlifting, and I just took that and I ran with it. And I continued to do it, and I was seeing, great changes, right? Like I started putting on more muscle. I never had a six pack then, right? Like back in high school and stuff, I didn't. I came close, and then I just ran with it. I started picking up running, and I did a lot. I was still learning a lot about diet and stuff back then, and completely like my diet was horrible back then. I starved myself. I did a lot of weird experimenting on myself as far as like trying to cut, right? And so I read like every bodybuilding magazine back then, and just I dreamed of being Mr. Olympia at one point, and then I tapered off a little bit. I got a military lifestyle changed, and that whole thing tapered off pretty quickly. And I picked up some bad habits. I drank a lot, right? And then I ended up putting myself back on track. I got a little overweight. I wasn't like uber overweight. Obviously, I was in the military. I was still running. I still had to run, right? I still had to do all these different things. So I didn't become like obese or anything like that. But then at one point, I got tired of it again, and went back to work, and I started doing what worked for me, and I took it a lot more serious, and I started diving more into it. I trusted the process. I read up, I researched everything I could. I kept going, and I got that six pack. And again, I never thought it would happen. So you do have to. And that's my other point I have here is thinking that you can't. Right? Is to understand that sometimes you feel like that's not you, that you can't do it, that you can't meditate, that you can't transform your body, that these things aren't possible, that you can't change your health, right? Like I had a health scare a couple of years ago. I thought it was over. I didn't know what to think, right? And I did do a video on that. Like I remember getting that information, and then my next meal was a salad, and it was scary. Like, yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. What was my life going to be after that point, right? And then that health scare, after a couple of days, I kind of just fell back into the whole regular routine, right? That's what I was. That's what I was doing, and it was horrible. I'll be honest. It was bad. And then I started looking like, what am I doing, right? Like, I have kids. Like, I really got to put them to the forefront, and I really got to start taking this seriously. And so again, a bunch of other things happened, and I got back in shape, and I make sure it's a priority now, because it does mean a lot in your health. Mental, physical is definitely a big thing. Definitely something you need to take care of from the get-go, because it is the base in which it all stands, right? Like, you can be trying to make lots of money, or you're trying to achieve all these things in your life. You have to realize that if you aren't healthy, you're not going to make it. As gloom and doom as that sounds, right? You're just not going to make it. And so you have to make sure that the health is taken care of. You're taken care of. You have to be selfish when it comes to health, your mental well-being, and your physical health. A lot, like myself, right? Like, if it wasn't for the plant-based diet, like I remember going up to that point, like it was painful to run or anything. Like, my joints hurt, my back hurt all the time. And my kids were, 2 and 4 at the time, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And then, going on plant-based, I feel great. I don't have any pain or anything like that, and I'm doing all these things with my kids that I thought I possibly couldn't do, right? Because it was just because of a lifestyle change. I changed my diet, and it really made a huge difference. No, people may not want to hear that. Plant-based diet is something that a lot of people look down on, because there's not a good understanding. And I looked down on it for a long time too. I'll be 100% honest. Until I had my scare, I did. And then I made the change, and I really understood like what it really does to you. And now I'm a big advocate of it because of the changes it does, right? Like, it takes minimal effort to keep your weight at a good, healthy weight. Minimal effort. You're not doing crash diets, right? If you do it correctly, life is good. And then on the mental side of the house, right? If you're doing meditation, you get past, right? Like, you got to get past the hurdles, right? I think all the hurdles there are there to eliminate those people that aren't willing to put in the effort, right? Like, there's reasons why the hurdles there. There weren't all these hurdles there. If things were just easy and given, right? Like, everything would be easy, and you wouldn't appreciate anything at all. There's a reason why these things have gates, right? There's a reason why, again, all these things are there. And so, again, for myself, I got over that hurdle and researched it a lot, because I wasn't sure. I was scared. I wasn't sure at all about the plant-based diet, if it was healthy, if it wasn't. I mean, you get a lot of mixed messages out there, and there's an agenda that's pushed on what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating. And, I did a lot of research on that. I learned a lot about just protein in general, because I was big chicken, rice, and broccoli when I was doing bodybuilding, and I hated that diet, right? And that wasn't sustainable. I did it for a long time, and I hated every minute of it. Right, like there's only so much dry chicken you can eat, right? And then now, like I don't have, I can essentially eat whatever I want plant based, right? Like there are a lot of good plant based meals. You wouldn't think so, but essentially what you do, you're flavoring the plant based foods, right? And you cook them in specific ways. I mean, it's much better. It's much easier to maintain everything. And again, I wouldn't believe that, right? Like that's one thing too, when going to any of this stuff about meditation, going about health, you really have to have an open mind. Don't come into any of this stuff with your cup full and think you know everything. I did, and I regret not knowing about this, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I wish I would have known about this. And so you always got to come into everything, your cup empty, right? That's the mentality you have to take. And make sure you're doing it right and do it incrementally change, right? Like the salad you buy at a restaurant, that little petri dish they give you a salad in. Yeah, no, you need like a whole head of lettuce, right? Like you need to understand you can't eat that much. And I'm not trying to make this all about plant-based. I'm just trying to give an understanding of where I'm coming from, that you need to open your perspective about these different things. I know a lot of people are kind of wishy-washy about the whole meditation, about plant-based diets. But people want to get healthier. People want to do that. And these things do exist, right? There's no cutting corners. There is 100% hard work and understanding. The biggest thing is getting over that hurdle of coming in with an empty cup and absorbing as much knowledge as you can without being judgmental, right? You need to get all aspects of it and come at it in a proper way. Myself, right? Like I've seen a lot of people just complain about the plant-based diet, and it's like your approach probably wasn't the best. I'll be 100% honest. A lot of these different things, a lot of people would rather do crash course stuff. I've done a bunch of different things, right? Like I've done some of the crash course diets, and even at a young age, I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. I've always just tried to eat healthier. I did the bodybuilding diet, which again, I don't believe was the healthiest thing, right? You're stuck to a variety of food. Just because you look good doesn't mean that you're actually healthy. And I think that's the difference for any of this, ultimately. So just my opinion. Again, you don't have to agree, but just keep an open mind on this stuff. 100% is where I'm standing here. So that's essentially where I have. And then my goals for this week. I want to kind of close this one out. I know this one's getting kind of long. But I want to talk about my goals this week, or to do 30 minutes of stillness. And I did talk about this. I went over the whole meditation bit. Stillness for me, right? Like I told you, the first 5 minutes, that's all I did was sit in stillness, and it was painstakingly hard to sit there for 5 minutes. And then, like I said, it was about a year and a half ago, I was able to get up to like 2 hours just sitting still. I set my alarm and just sit there. And I found it, again, to be tremendously beneficial. And the reason for it being, right, is that like the first 30 minutes is hard, even now to this day. Like I haven't done the stillness thing, but I did it today. I did my first session about an hour ago. And it is hard, that first 30 minutes. But the thing is the more you do it, like even then when I learned, when I was doing an hour and a half, after that 40 minutes, you start having these incredible ideas, and creativity starts coming, and like there's really nothing like it. And even today, even doing my 30 minutes today, like sitting in stillness, like I started having these ideas about what to do on here, and doing possibly even having some people do requests, right? And the fact that you'd come on with me on Zoom and we'd have a meeting, record it, put it on YouTube, kind of thing. So that was just some of the random ideas that come up. Like I was just sitting there, and with this whole stillness thing, sorry, I'm getting a little off track there, but the whole stillness thing is sitting there and just kind of letting your thoughts play out, right? Like you just let the thought come into your mind and then just let it go, right? Don't try to sit and think about too much detail about it, but you're just kind of observing your thoughts. And you do that essentially in stillness, where it's the most quietest place in your house, and you essentially do that, and you realize that it does a lot. It's definitely helped me. And again, a lot of people may think all this stuff is like, way out there and stuff. And I'll agree 100%. I was there too. But to make progress in your life, these things are big things. And now they're starting to become even bigger now, right? People are starting to see the benefit of them. And I was essentially kind of pushed in that direction, right? So nonetheless, I would 100% agree that this stuff really works. It makes you feel a lot better. Helps you tackle stresses in life a lot easier. I can guarantee you, it preps you for all that stuff. It makes you able to overcome those difficult things in life if you can implement some of these things into your life. So again, stillness for 30 minutes. I did mine today. Enjoyed it. I also did my other my normal 15 minutes in the morning as well. So that is something I'm continuing on. And then I do the 3 10-mile runs this week. I know I briefly talked about this in the beginning. I didn't realize my schedule was so hectic this week. I do have, I think, my first 10-mile run I'm trying to do tomorrow. That's where I have the most free time tomorrow. And so I'm going to try to do that and see where I'm at. And I know today I was tired. I didn't sleep much last night. So again, talking about health, that should have probably been one of them. Let's try to get more sleep during this week. Although I've been excited doing the live streams and stuff, so it has been a little bit more of a challenge to get sleep when your brain just starts going and being creative. Right? It's hard to start that engine sometimes. But nonetheless, I'm trying to aim for 3. I think what I was ultimately really trying to do is just have a goal in which I ran more than I normally do. And again, I run between that like 30, 35 miles. So I was kind of hoping like, well, if I could hit 40, if I could do my average like 5 to 6 mile run plus 3 10s, and try to hit 40 if at all possible. And I was like, well, in 5 days, that's kind of hard. So I'm gonna have to see how that goes. It may go into Sunday. I may on the Sunday premiere, I may have to tell you how many miles I run ultimately throughout the week, but because the weekends are obviously much more open, a little bit more free time to where I can squeeze in those 10-mile runs. I know the 10-mile run for me has been taking about an hour and a half, roughly. So we'll see. Those are my goals for the week. Again, the book, if you guys have picked up a book for this Underdog experiments, I am reading The Lives of the Stoics by Ryan Holiday. I am actually down to 2 hours now. I didn't read any of the book over the weekend. I was really slammed this weekend. I had a lot going on with my kids. So nonetheless, I did get some extra time today with the book. So I am down to 2 hours. So I'm actually going to have to look for another book during this 4-week span. But nonetheless, I think that's pretty much all I got. I also do want to mention, if any of you guys have a request on a video that you want, I am actually putting an email address down in the description. If you want to do a video request, if there's something that you want me to talk about, go ahead and send in that request. I'll be more than happy to fulfill it. If you want to send an email and be completely anonymous, and I can go through your email and then do a video on it to hopefully help some other people on here. Again, that way you can be 100% anonymous. I know some people don't want to comment because they may feel that they don't have that secrecy essentially, and they may not want to ask a question that they may feel they may be judged upon. So I do have that again in the description. Again, I have my top 5 down in the description. Again, I have book recommendations for this week as far as like health. That's again also down in the description. And that pretty much wraps up the Monday session. I can't tell if anybody is on. I know my computer just freaked out, so I'm hoping that the stream is still good for today. And if there are no questions, if there are, I cannot see them. It says that I have one current viewer. I don't know if that's me, myself, and I. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Again, during any of these live streams, if at all you want to ask me anything, please, again, just go ahead and throw it out there. You can stop me, and I know I get sidetracked sometimes, but nonetheless, I'm always willing to take on questions as we go. So again, the stream is getting pretty lengthy. So if there are no questions, I think, again, I've gone over everything as far as health. I'm just trying to, again, hit on all those things that trying to just open your eyes, open your perspective on health, right? I think health is one of those things that, we had that chart back in the day. And if you're my age, right, like I'm 39, like you have a chart that hasn't been updated, right, on what you should be eating. They're just now starting to implement more stuff about eating more plants and stuff. So remember, that chart hadn't changed for like a couple centuries. So just an FYI, right? And keep an open mind, 100%, right? Keep an open mind on the meditation, on the health. Just find something that's healthy, find something that works for you. That's what we're doing here. Maybe it's not even just healthy. Maybe it's just trying to get out and be more active. Right? I think that's all we're trying to do here. It's a judge-free zone, right? Like, I don't care. I'm not some crazy vegan on here trying to tell you how to eat a certain way. That's not all what I'm about. So I'm just trying to implement something that can help people, right? Choose things that work for them. Choose tools that work for them, right? Maybe you like to fast, right? I've done fasting. Done intermittent fasting. There's a bunch of different kind of fasting you can do. So I've done a bunch of different things. I have tried a bunch of different things. Like I said, I like to experiment, whether there's body or mind. Again, one and the same. Make sure all inputs are good for your body and for your mind. And on that note, I think I'm going to wrap this video up and upload it. And again, look for the pinned comments. I'm essentially carrying over, again, everything from last week into this week. I'm still trying to incorporate what I implemented last week into this week. I don't want to just drop it off. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I think once you learn something for that week, you need to continue it into the second week and then slowly add a couple other different things. Again, if it is too much, only do one thing. Like for last week, do something to implement time management. And coming to this week, implement one thing to do for health, right? Maybe you just want to do something for your mind or something for your body or one for both, right? I think it's important to take it slow. You're not going to do it overnight, right? We're all in this together. I've been there. I've done that. I've been doing it for many years, personal development. Even before I even really knew what personal development was, I just always was about it. So I was trying to improve myself. So that's what I'm here for. And I hope you guys are ready for week 2 and then knock this out. I got a 10-mile run tomorrow. I'm excited. I gotta hype myself up. Gotta be my own hype man. I'm telling you 100%. If you can be your own hype man, you can definitely make a lot of progress and believe in yourself. It's much needed, especially at a time like this and what's going on. So nonetheless, let's get week 2 started. I hope you guys are going to have a great evening, great week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the recap. So, all right, guys, let's knock it out. All right, peace.